What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video, or welcome to a video. And if this is your first video, make sure to hit the subscribe button because we got a whole bunch more Subaru things. We got S14 things, we got IS300 things, we got G35 things, we got FRS things, we got Tacoma things, we got a plethora of things. So, I mean, you know, whatever your niche is, we'll find your viewing pleasure in some way, shape, or form. But in the meantime, today we're doing Subaru things, and specifically, I'm adjusting my preload in the front end on my car because last time we lowered it, got her dirt nasty low. Not really, it's not that low, but it's like at a perfect ride height for me. But it keeps rubbing a little bit, and my fenders on the front end aren't quite rolled enough, so we're gonna roll those and adjust the preload on the springs in the front end to get them a little bit stiffer, so hopefully it doesn't rub as much. Also, I'm going to talk to you guys about the difference between spring rate and preload and why people get those things confused, and show you a couple little trip bibs. Yeah, I'm going to show you guys some tricks on rolling your fenders. Hopefully, maybe you already know how to do this and this isn't really useful for you, but yeah, hopefully you learned something. So here is the fender roller I'm going to be using. I have no idea what brand it is. I stole it from Hayden's house. It's Caden's. Thank you, Hayden. Sorry, Caden. If you guys want to see what their cars are, check here or down below or whatever. Here's some links. But let's get started on getting one of these wheels off and getting these fenders a little bit tighter. I'll show you guys what the difference is before and after on the fenders right now. So I'm adjusting the preload on the passenger side because I already kind of have an idea of it set up on the driver's side. I might add like 2 more mils to it, but that's about it. I have BC Racing coilovers. Your coilovers may call for a different kind of adjustment. What BC calls for is 4 millimeters, which is the thickness of the spanner wrench right here on the side. So what you'll do is loosen this lower lock ring right here and tighten this ring right here, which is going to compress the spring more, which is by definition the spring preload. So it's preloading the spring, controlling how much droop your suspension has and how far the spring has to travel to reach its max compression or compression stroke in the shock, whichever comes first. Now, when you are adjusting your preload, you are not adjusting your spring rate. Your spring rate is completely different. So your spring rate is actually the amount of pressure it takes to compress the spring 1 millimeter from the factory. It has nothing to do with preload at all. A lot of people get those two things confused just because they're like, it's a spring that means the same thing, but it's completely different. And both of those are also affected by dampening, which I'm going to talk to you guys about once we get up top after I finish setting this preload real quick. This is the wrong spanner wrench. So I'm going a little bit more than 4 millimeters on this side because the other side is like pretty tight. I might actually end up tightening this up and then lowering the car a little bit just so I can get it even to where I want it ride height wise, because I don't want it to have a saggy butt. And I really liked the ride height on this side, but it was rubbing way too much, which is also why I have the fender roller, because I'm going to try and roll these just a tad bit more. I have them rolled pretty well already, but I mean, a little bit more won't hurt. So I'm just going to give it a little go with the fender roller and see if I can clean it up just a tad bit more so I can stop rubbing everywhere. Well, I was wrong. Looks like we're not rolling our fenders anymore after all.
The fender roller no fit on the rim, on the fender. It doesn't reach. It can't reach. It's not small enough. It's too long.
So it looks like this center section right here is actually too long and won't connect the roller to the fender itself.
I mean, it's not the end of the world. Like I said before, like they're pretty okay. Like they're rolled, kind of.
It's not like it's damaging my tire or gouging it at all. I just didn't want to hear it rub every once in a while. So Hopefully this preload adjustment will work and help out a little bit, but I need to adjust dampening now that I've adjusted the preload, because the two actually correlate together. The dampening, where it says hard or soft, actually isn't like hard or soft. It's actually controlling the speed at which the valves inside the shock open to let fluid pass through in order for it to articulate up and down. So a lot of that is going, so when you change your spring rate, obviously you're changing how quickly that shock needs to open or close. If you stiffen your spring rate and then you leave your dampening at the same, it's gonna feel a little bit better, but not quite all the way there. When you do that, you need to actually have a slower reaction time for your dampening, because your spring is making the shock compress faster, and so it needs to open to let the fluid come through a little bit better. I hope that makes sense. I don't think it made sense. I feel like I confused myself in that. Yeah, I think that's right. Maybe. Yeah, because the spring's tighter, so then it's not gonna move as much. It's gonna move faster, so you want the shock to open, the fluid to open slower, so it's not as harsh. Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. That makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, tell me down below in the comments. BC has actually made it super easy to do dampening adjustments on literally any car with the BR series coilovers. It's a little bit more complicated the higher up you go into their series of coilovers. I don't remember exactly what they're called right now. But yeah, so since I did the preload adjustment, I'm going to take the dampening out just a click, even though typically if you were doing more aggressive driving, you'd probably leave it on the harder setting, or if you wanted to or if you still wanted it to be comfortable, you'd probably take 2 clicks out of dampening out. At least that's what I'd recommend, but actually I'm going to probably just totally reset my dampening right now and then adjust it based off that preload adjustment, because I know this side's already been done on the driver's side. This is the dampening control right here. Right now, there you go, you can kind of see the hard and soft, hard settings. I'm gonna back it all the way out. I think I was at like 12. These have 32-way adjustables on the dampening settings. So I'm gonna bring them into about 10, and hopefully that'll firm up the ride enough to where it doesn't rub as much. But also when you have a harder ride, it's rougher on your bushings, and this car has like 260K on it. So it's gonna be, I'm gonna probably have to play with it a little bit more, just because this car is so old that the bushings and ball joints and stuff like that are just gonna be a little more resilient to this suspension change, even though it's going to handle better and be more race car like, I guess would be the easiest way to put it. It's gonna be stiffer in the front end, so it's gonna track a little bit better. It's gonna be a little bit more planted on the ground. And just like that, preload dampening's all set up on the front end of this car. Hopefully, I'll let you guys know in the comments down below if whether or not these changes actually helped me, or what other changes I had to make or adjustments I had to make to the suspension geometry to actually get it to quit rubbing, because I don't like it when it revs. I don't like revvy. Even though my fenders are old and I know I'm not damaging tires, it just sounds like every time it happens, and I don't want it to happen anymore. So there we go. Betsy's all tuned up and ready to go on the suspension front, and I'll let you guys know how it goes. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video or you learned something, make sure to drop a like, a comment, and of course subscribe, because we all trying to grow out here on the YouTube front. Thanks for watching again. Later.